Okay, guys, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. Now, I don't mind admitting something. This is actually a first for a Friday Waffle. I'm actually recording this on, wait for it, a Tuesday. Yep, I'm recording this on Tuesday the 8th. In fact, I mentioned it to my daughter. I told her, because I always give her a wee heads up when I'm going to be recording, so she doesn't kind of come in and interrupt me, though that still happens. I told her I was doing my Friday Waffle tonight, and she's like, why are you doing that? It's called the Friday Waffle. And I says, yeah, it's called the Friday Waffle, but it doesn't necessarily have to be recorded on a Friday. And she went, well, it has to be. It's a Friday Waffle. But you know what? I can see her point. I can absolutely see her point. But no, I mean, the Friday Waffle is a thing. It's its own thing. That's the name of it. You know, it would be like if there was a program on TV called the Friday Waffle, and for whatever reason it had to be postponed, then it would be shown. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. It would be shown on a Saturday, and people you wouldn't rename it the Saturday Waffle. It would still be the Friday Waffle. So anyway, I am talking complete and utter bollocks. I do have very, very, very little to talk about this week. I mean, last week I did the sort of I talked about YouTube, my top tips. I also spoke about the good things and the bad things of having a YouTube channel. And yeah, listen, apologies about the video. What really annoyed me about that thing was I recorded it on my phone, and that usually does 1080p. Then I rendered it on using a piece of software, which took hours. It literally took, I don't know how long it took. It took a couple of hours to render it. Now, some people that make YouTube videos are probably thinking, what are you complaining about? I know my mate Panther, when he does some of his videos, I think he lets them render overnight. My videos generally render in about half an hour. So a 2 hour render for me is a lot. um, yeah, so it rendered it, and then when I played it back, I realised how it was flicking in and out between focusing. And so I thought, right, if I change it to black and white, that might kind of dampen the effect down a wee bit. But in retrospect, it didn't make a toss of difference, which was a bit annoying. And yeah, when I was kind of watching it back just for 5 minutes, it annoyed the hell out of me. It was really, really annoying. So yeah, I was annoyed at that. But you know what? It doesn't matter. The Friday Waffle could be a complete black screen. It's it's me talking. I mean, I very rarely actually show you anything. I may occasionally put a link to something or have a little picture of something, but in the main, the Friday Waffle is it's podcast material, you know. But because it's all excuse me, because it's always been done. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. Sorry, that's hopefully nobody's listening to that with city headphones on. I've probably just perforated their eardrum. Uh, what was I talking about? I can't remember. Can't remember. But yeah, I was going on about the Friday Waffle. It is podcast stuff, but because I've always done it on YouTube, I will continue to do it on YouTube as well. So yeah, I've got really nothing at all to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into the questions from 2 weeks ago, because I don't think I actually answered any. Let me have a quick wee look. So this is the Friday Waffle, the 25th of February. Right, down the rabbit hole. Is saying here, excellent answers to the questions. Yet, because Kevin did give me a 5 specific questions regarding if there was a Meme Meister Expo. I can't even say that word. Expo? I physically can't say it. Expo. There you go. You've got to pause. I especially like the how to use an emulator workshop, as that's both something a lot of folks could benefit from and is very much in keeping with your channel content. Thanks, man. You're very welcome, Kev. Paul Patrick. Hi, Alan. Possible question for the waffle. Are there any games where you actually prefer the home console or computer conversion to the arcade original, i.e., fairer difficulty, more levels? That is a good question. I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's one game that people always say that the home version is better than the arcade one, and that is Buggy Boy, and it's the C64 in particular. I mean, Buggy Boy in the arcades it is quite a graphically pretty game. I mean, albeit it's quite blocky because the arcade one was two big, massive. I'm saying massive monitors. You know what? That's the thing. You're saying massive monitors, but in retrospect, they were probably smaller than my two monitors I've got here. But back in, I don't know, 1985, 1986, they were probably huge because, I mean, let's be honest, a 32-inch TV back in the year 2000 was literally like having your own cinema screen. It was huge. So yeah, a small monitor the Buggy Boy monitors were probably smaller. Where am I going with this? Yeah, so the arcade one was quite blocky, but the C64 one, I was talking about this. Did I talk about this in last Sunday's live stream? I can't remember. But there are games. Buggy Boy in the C64. It was. I would almost say it was a bit of an impossible ask trying to convert that, Buggy Boy, the arcade game, across to home computer because the graphics are really really big, and there was no way they were going to get that on a home PC. To be fair, they came pretty damn close with the Commodore Amiga and Atari ST. That, graphically wise, it looked really good, and it also played really well as well. It was pretty smooth. Yeah, I was playing the Spectrum version in Sunday's live stream, and whilst I've kind of captured the graphics pretty well, it does suffer because the Spectrum can't handle it, and that's not a slight in the Spectrum because, as we know, the Spectrum is capable of some fantastic conversions. Obviously Chase HQ being the one that kind of springs to mind, but yeah, the Spectrum tried to replicate the arcade graphics, and in doing so, you ended up with a poorer experience. It was slower. The frame rate was really, really poor. But the guy that converted the C64 one, he obviously looked at the arcade one, thought, you know what, there's no way this is going to work. This is what I'm going to do. So what he did was he took the essence and the gameplay of the arcade one, and then he basically built built the C64 kind of game around what the I'm not putting this across very well. He took the essence of the game and then he put it into the C64 and he used the strengths of the C64 to come up with its kind of own interpretation. And whilst it's not, there's no way it's as graphically pretty as the arcade one, it still looks nice, and more importantly, it plays fantastic. It really is. It is a super super playable game. Um, Now, that doesn't necessarily answer your question, Paul. I mean, what you're saying here is there a version that you prefer? Yeah, I would probably say that is definitely one of them. The C64 Buggy Boy is definitely nice. Any other version? I mean, there are some fantastic conversions. Chase HQ and the Spectrum on the Amstrad is a fantastic achievement. But would you choose to play the Spectrum one over the arcade? No, I wouldn't. Not at all. The arcade game's marvelous. I mean, it's fast. It's got the graphics. It's got all the sound. It's got the speech. It's a fantastic game. But the Spectrum version is bloody good. But I wouldn't choose to play that one over the arcade one. One game which now I I've got to be honest and say that I've only played it when I was making a video. Now, my mate Panther UK, he has got a really good series where he compares it's kind of arcade perfect my arse. I mean, I look at sort of every home version and compare it with arcade. Panther just takes the arcade game and then looks at the C64 one. So it's kind of like a cut down version of Arcade Perfect My Arse. He just concentrates on the Commodore 64 one. But one game that he did feature, and he has actually said that he thinks the C64 is better than arcade, and it's Power Drift. In fact, what I'll do, in fact, yeah, by the time you're watching this, you'll be saying, well, yeah, we know because you've already done it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay some Buggy Boy arcade footage against the C64 one, and I'll also do that with Power Drift. Obviously, you're not going to get that with the podcast, but it doesn't really matter. You're still getting the essence of what I'm talking about. But yeah, Power Drift in the arcades, I remember seeing it, and I was really, really kind of gobsmacked at just how amazing the graphics were. Everything seemed huge. You were driving a car across this massive, massive, big wooden roller coaster, and it was something. You need to remember this was before like VR was a thing. So you're driving in this complete fantasy world, and it was incredible looking. Looking at the game now, does it still look as impressive? Not really. You can see it's very, very blocky looking. The graphics are blocky. There's big gaps between the and the actual roller coaster thing itself. It's like wood. I presume it's meant to be made of wood. There's big gaps and there's a bit of glitching going on. And I think it was Simon Butler that converted it actually. And yeah, again, he obviously, when he was asked to convert it, he obviously looked at the arcade game and thought, "There's not a cat's hell chance that this is going to go into this little beige bread bin." So again, he took the essence of the game, and then he just built a game around it. He put the graphics, what the C64 was capable of, and built around it. So yeah, I'm going to give it a go. You can see, obviously, at the moment, you can see what they both look like. So yeah, I can't say that Power Drift is a game that I prefer because I haven't really played it, other than very, very briefly. But I do know, Mrs. Panther says if he was going to play either or, he would definitely go for the C64 one. I'm just trying to think of any other conversions. There's one game, and it's on the Commodore Amiga, and it's what do you call it? Oh, blimey, Rodland. Yeah, Rodland. Again, I'll put a little. I'll let you see them both. Rodland on the Amiga, Rodland on the arcades. It's a platform game, and more specifically, you can play two-player coin-op. And back in the day, my daughter and I used to play it using MAME, and it was on the original Xbox. And my daughter she was only be about 3 or 4 years old at the time. So I used to put it on to like infinite lives, and I think we used to put invulnerability on as well. So basically, you couldn't die, and we would sit and play it together and complete it. Now, one of the things that I was aware of, and I've since found out that is arcade. It appears in arcade as well. Is there slowdown? Now, I don't really know why that's the case because for most of the game, it'll be absolutely fine. It'll play perfectly. Then every now and again, it will just jerk and it will get really, really slow. And it's not even that there's too much on screen. It just seems to be, I don't know whether there's a bit of bug in the code or whatever, but every now and again, it would slow down. So then I got to, I mean, I never played it back in the day when I had an Amiga, but I've since discovered that, in fact, the C64 as well and the Commodore Amiga versions are absolutely fantastic. They look the part, and more importantly, they play the part, and there's no slowdown. So yeah, I would say the C64, sorry, the Commodore Amiga Rodland is absolutely wonderful. It really is. Is there any other games that I can think of? You know what? I'm getting dazzled with that bloody light. I'm tempted to turn it off, but it'll get a bit too dark. So yeah, I think thanks for the question there, Paul. There's probably other games. Can you guys think of any home conversion of a game that you'd actually say is better? I mean, I know there are various games that have come out for like the maybe not specifically the home computers, but for like the home consoles where they've actually added levels, they've actually improved it. Um, can't think of any example offhand, but yeah, there's plenty of examples where the game has been just as good, if not better. But let me know any arcade game that you think there's actually a better home version of, and stick it in the comments down below. Jambon and Mental, great waffle, thanks. Nice to hear the excellent Steve Benway getting a mention. Yep, Steve's a good lad. I have to say though, I don't know if Steve watches my if he watches my waffles at all. Steve's getting heavily into VR, and I'm kind of missing the old stuff. I mean, I love listening to Steve. He can just he can take something as dull as a piece of wood, and he could talk about this piece of wood, and he would turn it into an hour's waffle or talkie and make it interesting. He's like my mate Dave Connolly as well. There's certain people have just got this knack of talking about nothing. They can talk about the most dull subject ever, and it will still be interesting. And Steve Ben was one of them. But I have to say, Steve, I do miss your kind of all your retro stuff. I know you like your VR. But yeah, get back. Try and get back to doing your VR, not your VR stuff. Your kind of retro gaming stuff. These days, he seems pretty immersed in VR chat. Yep, and reckons it's the future. I was wondering what your thoughts are on VR chat. Will it ultimately replace the social sides of YouTube, Facebook, Discord, Zoom, or even pubs and nightclubs? Have I answered this one before? I don't think I have. I think I was going to last week and or the week before, and I didn't just because I was talking too much. I've tried. Have I tried VR chat? I don't think I have. I know my daughter uses it quite a lot. She doesn't. Well, she uses the Oculus Quest, but pardon me, she connects it up to the PC because apparently you get a kind of better experience using the PC rather than the Oculus Quest built-in one. But I do know exactly what it's about. Will it ultimately replace the social sides of YouTube, etc.? No, absolutely no. I mean, well, I'm going to put a caveat in that and say absolutely no at the moment, because quite simply the technology is not yet there. Yep, you can get a fun experience, using the current VR kind of technology, but it's the fact that VR still is still a minority kind of pastime. I mean, you saw the flack that I got when I said, when I was talking about VR. Some people, well, we won't even mention him, but some people still think it's like it's something that people are going to forget about shortly. I think it's like VR just in general. It's wonderful, and I'm not going to go talking about it because I've spoke about it to death. But it's still a bit of a faff. You've still got to put a headset on. You've still got to make sure the headset is charged up. Um, you can only have a headset on for so long before you start getting a bit, I don't know, not so much dizzy, but I don't know. Yeah, you can. It's quite uncomfortable over a certain period of time. So I think until VR becomes, I don't know, like you don't have to put a headset on. It's the room that you're in. You can just, I don't know, you can either issue a command verbally, or you clap your hands or something, or there's a remote control. A bit like what's it called? What was the name of that film? Total Recall, when Arnie's in his living room and his whole back wall is a TV, but it can change into like, different backdrops. I think until which time technology gets to that stage where it's completely there's no cables, there's no batteries, you don't have to put things on your head. Then I think, yeah, we will see, once it becomes normal, once it becomes something that you can a bit like TV, everybody, well, most people I would say has got a TV, most people has got a mobile phone. It's just expected. People have it, and you don't think about it as being anything fancy. Possibly, if VR gets to that stage where like I says, there's no faffing around with anything. You go in your living room and you just say, "Open VR," boom, and you're in a sort of VR environment. Then I think we absolutely will see. You'll have VR chat. I mean, at the moment, I'm sitting talking to you guys through a camera. I can have conversations with other people using this camera. So we're kind of halfway there. We're already using cameras to talk and communicate. I mean, a lot of my mates I've never seen in real life. All my kind of YouTube pals, apart from a couple, I've never met in real life, and yet I think I know them really well because I've spoke to them on the phone and I've spoke to them using this. So I think once the technology does eventually catch up and get there, then I think VR chat will definitely be a thing. But at the moment, it's not going to replace. And I actually hope to God that it never replaces face to face, because the day that we just keep in contact purely through this is a very, very, very sad day indeed. So anyway, listen, thank you very much, Jambon. Appreciate that. Delboy 3K1, great waffle. Sorry to say, Jack Tramiel. Well, I'll let you off, Dale, since you can't actually spell. Jack Tramiel has been dead almost a decade, but a fantastic choice. Swap him with his son, maybe. The Virtual Boy works great on the Oculus Quest and is an actual emulator in all its red and black glory. Yeah, I'll stick to my original. I'll stick to. I can't even do it properly. I'll stick to that. I've got the real McCoy. Let's see. LFC Gamer in Vlogs, to give him his full title. Another great waffle, Al. Personally, VR isn't my cup of tea, mainly due to terrible motion sickness, despite giving it a chance. I can wholeheartedly agree with you and say it's not a gimmick fad. Millions of people, including yourself, find the passion, experience gaming, and a different perspective are keeping this VR thing alive and kicking, proving these naysayers wrong time and time again. Thank you, LFC. And the last comment on this waffle was Lactobacillus prime. Mark, there are a million political opinions out there, but aggression war can't be a good thing. People losing their lives with the ones in charge and safety pulling the strings of the young folks at their fronts. Could it be that feeling like the world is turning to shit? Yeah, that was a comment I made a couple of weeks ago. Perhaps what the aggressor wants us to feel like we are less powerless than we might think. We need to stop voting and putting arseholes in charge. Absolutely, Mark. Thank you very much for the comments. And right, I've just moved on to next or last Friday's waffle. Colin Jones, I love the way you found a topic and waffled away like crazy on it. Haters are going to hate and trolls are going to troll. Don't let them get to you. Waffles aren't all about our hobby, they're about anything. This makes them worthwhile and indeed essential viewing and listening. Thank you very much, Colin. You're too kind. Highlander, I genuinely can't believe some people criticise your gaming skills. I don't know if there's a bit of sarcasm involved there, Highlander, but anyway, thank you. Losers, anyway, I've subscribed to Dale. Great waffle as always. Thank you very much, buddy. Arlasoft, politicians aren't clever. If they were, they would be doing a much more interesting job. Those that do go into politics for the right reasons and those have actual ideas are quickly marginalised because the rest don't like to be made to look stupid. Yeah, there's probably quite a bit of truth in that. So thank you very much, Nick. Now this next one, this is fantastic. My mate Dave Connolly. I'm going to read this full thing. Over in Queen's Park here in Glasgow, there's a boating pond, and from time to time there's a bunch of old guys who turn up with little model boats. These tiny little boats are near perfect scaled down replicas of real ships from the past. There's little warships, a few tugs, a couple of tiny speedboats, and if you're lucky, you might even see the Titanic. Anyway, for a long time when I was wee, I couldn't see the point in any of this. I mean, those old guys weren't racing, they weren't really doing anything at all, as far as I could tell, just hanging about. They'd lower the boats into the pond, and then, well, that was basically it. They'd make their little boats do a turn or two. Sometimes they'd make the boats move backwards for a moment. It was all perfectly pointless. No doubt they all must have invested thousands of hours into building and tweaking these things. I often wondered what they must be talking about amongst themselves. The best screwdriver, glue versus nails, how plastic ruined the model boating industry, who knows? Now I've reached a point in life where I have a boating pond of my own, where I like to spend time hanging out with some friends. It's here, it's YouTube. To most people, it probably doesn't make much sense, but I'm into it. I enjoy this. That 20 quid that you speak of might as well be 20 million. That's the magic. Most people probably don't get it. Anyway, this comment was brought to you in association with Weathers Originals. Thanks for the waffle. You're the man. Brilliant. I loved reading that. Thank you very, very much, Dave, for sharing that little. But it's true. You know what? It's funny. It's only as you get older you think back to things that as a kid you used to look at or see, and you thought that people were sad for behaving a certain way, or like going into the countryside you thought it was boring, but when you get to a certain age you actually appreciate it. And it is so true. The older you get, it's the simple things in life that matter. It really, really is true. Excuse me. Del Boy, a retrospective from a nice channel like yours. Clever, and do it please. So many anniversaries today on YouTube doing new videos about old tech. However, you have hundreds of videos on the subject that covers it already. What a homage it is to have a montage spliced together as a reminisce. Great waffle and some top tips from a master. You're still a get though. Excelsior. Thank you very much, Dale. Apart from the little cheeky dig at the end, but anyway, I know what you're like. Yeah, I was what Dale's talking about. I mentioned last week, I think it was, that when you've been making videos for coming up 9 years, there is a finite amount of stuff to talk about. Yeah, I could just pick a game and talk about it. So that, there's thousands and thousands of games, but I'm not going to do that because it's not something that I'm really interested in. But yeah, I would say that when you've been making, especially Friday Waffles, I've been doing this again since 2013. That's a lot of Friday Waffles. That's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I've got to the point now where I do struggle to come up with something original because I've probably talked about it already. And then it got me thinking that when you've got 1,800 videos in your library, there's bound to be stuff that I could revisit, stuff that I could talk about. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to put this out here out of curiosity. How many people who watch my channel on a regular basis, how many people actually dig back into the archive, go to different playlists? How many people actually go back and look at old videos that I made maybe 10 years ago or 9 years ago, I should say? Interested to know. I know Dale definitely does it. People like Brian, who's been watching my channel since the year dot. He obviously saw them first time around, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that I could revisit and kind of redo as a video. Let me know what you think. Please let me know. So yeah, that's that. Down the rabbit hole, Kev, and subscribe to Dale Boy. Thanks for the heads up, Alan. Also, excellent top 10 tips. You hit the topic on the news. And I think, yeah, the very, very last question I've got, in fact, it's not even a question. It's Saniku Munjul. Some really good tips there. I'm sorry, I just had to listen and not watch. That camera zoom in and out was uncomfortable. I'm not a camera expert, but maybe there's a setting to stop it zooming in and out. Yeah, Dell said he reckons it was something to do with the light reflecting on the. I've got a picture on the back wall, and he reckons it was the light reflecting on that. And I think I've got in the corner, I've got a kind of glass table thing or a lamp stand thing, and he reckons it was the light was reflecting. And basically, it just meant that the thing was kind of panning in and out. So yeah, I was quite annoyed at that, but hopefully this one's a wee bit better. And I do apologise for the complete lack of any. Yeah, it's my usual live backdrop with all my stuff in the background. Before I go, I mean, it's I'm trying to kind of talk nonsense just to try and spin this waffle out slightly. One little thing I was going to kind of talk about briefly is: do you think do you think that there are too many? Is it possible to have too many channels about our hobby? It seems to me every time I go into YouTube, there's another person making talking about retro games. Is there too many? Or have we become completely saturated with channels? I know quite a few of the channels that I used to watch back in the day. You know, when I first started off, there's quite a lot of my mates that used to put out video channels, and they've kind of dropped by the wayside. They don't put out content anymore. I wonder why that is. Is it due to the lack of time, or is it because people get bored and just want to move on? Probably a bit of both, actually, when you think about it. I mean, if I think about the channels that I started watching who are still going, I've got Steve Benway. Yep, Steve's still going, although he doesn't, the content that he puts out at the moment isn't stuff that I'm really interested in as much. You know, I'm all about the old classic kind of vintage stuff. But Steve's still going. Lactobacillus Prime, Mark, he's still going. Lone Boys Post 1975, the awesome Dave, he's still going as well. Down the rabbit hole, yep, he's still making content. Um, Nova Bug, he's still putting out stuff regularly. But there's quite a few channels. I'm not going to go mention them, but there are quite a few channels, people that I used to watch back in the day, guys that kind of inspired me to make videos. Interested to know why they no longer do it. You know, is it lack of time? In fact, if any of these guys are watching it, um, please let me know. People that have had channels and then stopped doing it. Is there a reason for it? I don't know. I suppose when you think about it, it all kind of comes back to how much, and I was talking about this in last week's Friday Waffle, how much you're actually interested in something. Because you know, I've been playing video games since 1980. Well, if I'm talking about home games, I've been playing video games since 1982, 1983. And other mates that were playing games back then, most of them have kind of they've moved away. Yeah, some of them still play video games, but they're more into modern stuff. Into they're more into their PlayStation 5s and Xboxes and PCs. They're not interested in kind of the old stuff. So I suppose it depends what kind of interest, how deep an interest you actually have in something. You know, I don't see myself I don't see myself ever getting to the point where I become bored of this hobby. You can't do it for 9 years and still be doing it. You know, when I set out to do YouTube, again, it was just something that was a bit of fun. It was a bit of a laugh. I never thought for 1 second that 9 years later I would still be doing this. So it's a bit mental. But yeah, getting back to my topic, there are so many people making content. Maybe I've got no right to say, are there too many? Well, I'm entitled to ask that question. Are there too many? Have we become saturated with stuff? The sad thing is, although there's a lot more, and again, I touched on this a few weeks ago, I feel that the sense of community within this hobby has completely died. There's a couple of channels that I could name, and I'm not going to bother because I've already spoke about it. But there's other channels that I used to have quite a bit of like rapport with, and there's no crossing over. I don't even think that half the people that these guys even watch my channel anymore. So there's no real community spirit. There's no helping each other. But getting back, are there too many channels? I don't know. Maybe you could say there are, but at the end of the day, everybody's got their own opinions. Everybody's got their own memories about stuff. I mean, you compare my channel to Panther UK's, or you compare my channel to Down the Rabbit Hole. We've got completely different takes. Well, we're not completely different. There's going to be some crossover, but there's a lot of stuff that I've got different memories from Down the Rabbit Hole and Panther UK and Del Boy. So there's it's always nice to hear new opinions. Don't get me wrong. I do watch some channels that are just starting out, and I don't know. You see the background behind the channel. I don't mean like what prompted them to start. I mean the background, what you can see behind them. And there's a lot of people that have got these absolutely massive, massive collections of video games. And I'm not trying to put these people down and not trying to say that because they've got a massive collection, they feel they're entitled to talk about it. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just find there's a lot of channels out there that are just dull. you know, Pickups. Whatever happened to pickups? Pickups It used to be a huge part of our hobby. It really was, and I was guilty of doing them as well. I was never as guilty as some people. I mean, some people made that their main. That was the whole point of a pickup. That was the whole point of video. It was pickups. They would talk about they've picked up FIFA 2009 for the PlayStation and all that kind of stuff. I used to do them if I had something interesting to do. Do you want to see more pickups? Let me know. I mean, I'm trying to kind of cut back in my collection rather than gathering more stuff. And to be fair, if I've got something that I want to let you see, like all these handhelds up there, all these ones up there, I'm going to do individual videos of these. But yeah, I wonder why pickup videos have sort of like died a death. There are still a few channels that still do them. Some of them I found, some pickup videos I felt were utterly pointless. People just going through, I got this game and I got that game and I got this, whatever it was, this film and I got that. To me, I don't find that interesting in the slightest. What I did like is there's something unboxings. There is something, I don't know why, there is something fascinating about watching somebody unbox something. I think because it almost gives you a slight sort of like flavour of what it's like to actually own that thing because you're actually there with the guy. He's got the camera on and he's cutting the sellotape, he's opening the box, and you're there with him in that moment. So I do, or I used to enjoy these kind of videos. It depends what it's like, what kind of stuff it is. But yeah, pickup videos, it's not something you see much of at all now. Weird, weird. But yeah, are there too many retro video game channels? Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just being a cunt, basically, by saying that they're not interesting. But as I've said in my top tips, try and in fact, that was one that I never said. Try and be original. Try and not follow. Don't be a sheep. Be a shepherd. Do your own thing. Don't stick to what everybody else does. Try and have a kind of your own kind of USP, and then that way, if it's successful, people are more likely to kind of come back and continue to follow you. So yeah, right. Listen, guys, I'm going to get going. Apologies for a kind of slightly shorter waffle. It's not really going anywhere today, but like I says, it is actually only Tuesday, and I've not really had much of an opportunity. It's only when I'm out tomorrow. I'm actually going to on Thursday. I'm going to an Elvis tribute. Huh? Yeah, Elvis tribute night on Thursday, and then Friday it's my big sister's birthday party. So, yep, I've got an absolutely rammed social life. Yeah, that might not be true. So, anyway, listen, guys, I know it sounds nonsense saying this on a Tuesday night, but when you're watching this, it will be Friday, unless you're watching it recorded later on. So, listen, I hope you have a nice Friday night. Have an excellent weekend. I will be back on Sunday for part 3 of the Your Spectrum Top 100 look at. I think we're down to number 59, something like that. Yeah, so try and join me, I says. And as always, guys, yep, have a nice weekend. As always, thank you very, very much for watching.